This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. Donald Trump, along with his henchman, Peter Navarro, Rudy Giuliani, and a bunch of right-wing MAGA alt-right podcasters and influencers you never heard of, were about to hold a fundraiser for Jan6 insurrectionist defendants, criminal defendants, including ones that are serving years in federal prison for violently attacking our nation's capital, law enforcement along the way to try to assassinate and set fire to the Capitol. Those people, they were going to be invited guests at Bedminster to host a Jan6 gala hosted by Donald Trump and Giuliani and Navarro and others. And that was going to take place on the 5th of September. Donald Trump's a little tied up on the 5th of September, apparently, because he's going to be in court with Judge Chutkan, along with his lawyers and the special counsel's office, to talk about the new superseding criminal indictment, yet another grand jury indicting Donald Trump for election interference and crimes related to that. Put that aside for a minute. Think about the judgment here. Donald Trump was going to allow one of the prisoners and their wives, Sarah McAfee, who's the wife of Ronald Colton McAfee, who's serving over 5 years in prison for his violent attempt to overthrow our democracy. His attacks that he led on the West Tunnel, which was the scene of a pitched, just a barbaric battle. I was going to say almost medieval style, hand-to-hand combat with an outmatched law enforcement against a seething band of criminals. But to Donald Trump, Sarah McAfee sounded like the perfect person to be hosting a tens of thousands of dollar fundraiser for the Jan6 defendants. I know you think I'm making this up, so I'm going to have to read you some things here. First of all, Alan Feuer, the New York Times, reported that the gala was going to take place in Bedminster. It's just been postponed. Why? Well, who knows? If you go to the website, it's called Stand in the Gap. We'll throw up a picture of it. It was going to be hosted by First Class Label Group and Vote Your Vision, whatever that is, with pictures of Rudy Giuliani, Trump, and Anthony Raimondi, who's a right-wing, alt-right podcaster of some sort. Here's what it said on their website before they decided to cancel it because of, according to, get this, the wife of the person who violently attacked the Capitol said that they're canceling the gala because of safety and security concerns. Didn't seem to be any safety or security concerns for your husband on Jan 6th when he joined with 2,000 other people to try to burn the Capitol down. But let's leave that aside for a minute. Here's what the website said. Join us for an unforgettable evening. You have me already, rapt attention, at the J6 Awards Gala, where we will honor and celebrate the 20 defendants who contributed to the powerful Justice for All song released on March 3rd, 2023. You know, that anthem, that catchy little anthem of insurrection and traitorism and treason that Donald Trump likes to hum. This song quickly went platinum. Really? The entities that review albums gave it a platinum album. This song quickly went platinum thanks to your unwavering support. Now it says event highlights postponed, location to be announced, time to be announced. And then it goes on to say from the original text, the gala is not just a celebration of the song's success. Oh no, it's also a crucial fundraiser. The funds raised will provide much needed assistance to the Jan6 defendants. Then it's got who's going to be there. Attendees, spelled wrong. Can't make it up. There's no apostrophe in attendees. Attendees, Donald J. Trump. He served as the 45th president of the United States. President Trump continues to be a powerful voice for conservative values and the protection of individual freedoms. His leadership and legacy remain a cornerstone of the modern American political landscape. America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor who's already been indicted several times, lost his law license twice, filed a fake bankruptcy and is about to be left homeless and a pauper. Right, that Rudy Giuliani, who alleges that he's owed $2 million by the Trump campaign for unpaid legal fees. But here's what they say about Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani, a former U.S. attorney, has been a staunch advocate for law and order and has Wait, stop. He's been a staunch advocate for law and order? It's the opposite. That's like calling an arsonist a staunch advocate for fire safety. I mean, really? And has continued to play a significant role in American politics. He remains a prominent figure. Okay. Colby Covington, Never heard of him, except he's a UFC champion. I guess that gives him the right if you're a UFC fan. Bryce Hall, social media influencer. Peter Navarro, former Trump White House official. Oh, I see. This is Old Home Week after Labor Day. This is where all the former felons and criminals for Donald Trump all come home again. So Peter Navarro, fresh out of his prison sentence and prison stint. Nick Searcy, a renowned actor. Never heard of him. Bo Ludin, who's a young conservative influencer of some sort. Anthony Radmoni, who has 1.4 million followers. Jessica Krause, the creator of House Inhabit. Justin Waller, who wears shirts with not enough buttons, is a recognized social media influencer. I'm not sure by whom. And the list goes on. Now, here's the statement that I almost fell out of my chair. Here's the statement. The statement by, and then I'm going to talk about Sarah McAfee. When my mother-in-law arrived from overseas for the birth of our new baby daughter this month, I gave her MD hearing to try. She was hearing us, including the little baby cooings of our daughter, so much better. This podcast is sponsored by MD Hearing. MD Hearing is an FDA-registered rechargeable hearing aid that costs a fraction of what typical hearing aids cost. MD Hearing's Neo model cost over 90% less than clinic hearing aids. The Neo fits inside your ear, so no one will even know it's there. Plus, MD Hearing just launched the Neo XS, MD Hearing's smallest hearing aid ever. MD Hearing recently cut their price in half. That means you can get high-quality, rechargeable digital hearing aids for only $297 a pair. MD Hearing was founded by an ENT surgeon who saw how many of his patients needed hearing aids but couldn't afford them. He made it his mission to develop a quality hearing aid that anyone could afford. I've been raving to everyone about MD Hearing aids for a while now. MD Hearing is just as good as premium quality hearing aids. $297 for a pair of hearing aids this good is crazy. I can't believe my family was overpaying so much for hearing aids. Edward S. calls MD Hearing the best hearing aid I've used at any price. MD Hearing has sold over 1.5 million hearing aids, and they offer a 45-day risk-free trial with a 100% money-back guarantee, so you can buy with confidence. Get the hearing aid you or your family deserve with MD Hearing. Go to shopmdhearing.com and use promo code LEGALAF to get their new $297 when you buy a pair offer. Plus, they are adding a free extra charging case, a $100 value just for listeners of this show. That's shopmdhearing.com and use our promo code LEGALAF and get their new $297 when you buy a pair offer. Let me talk about her husband first, because she's really a co-founder of this event that's now been postponed for security purposes. But here's what I want to just read you from the Department of Justice press release about her husband, a former sheriff's deputy from Tennessee, right, who assaulted a cop when the cop was already prone and on the ground. Big hero, big hero. He was convicted on 6 felony charges by a jury. Ronald Colton McAbee, 29, of Unionville, Tennessee, was sentenced to 70 months in prison and 36 months of supervised relief by Rudy Contreras, the judge. The jury convicted McAbee of 5 felonies on October 2023, and he's been in jail ever since, including assaulting, resisting, or impeding an officer, civil disorder, entering and remaining in a restricted building with a deadly weapon. He has a penchant for brass knuckles, apparently. McAbee pleaded guilty on September 25th to a separate felony charge of assaulting, resisting, or impeding a second officer. So he already pled guilty to 1 count. According to documents, this guy, the Sarah McAbee's husband, was on medical leave from his office as a sheriff's deputy. He exchanged text messages with an associate about traveling to D.C. He inquired of his associate, how do I get some knuckles, meaning brass knuckles? He actually picked up brass knuckles. He picked up steel outdoor reinforced brass knuckle motorcycle power sports racing textile safety gloves. Brass knuckles. And he also picked up a 3%er emblem, put it on his outfit, ended up going into the Capitol. By 2 o'clock, he was on the West Plaza of the Capitol where police were in riot gear and erected barricades. He filmed the scene. He then left the scene and he returned to the Lower West Terrace Tunnel, which is the scene of the most violent attacks on the Capitol by these people. He eventually walked towards the archway, and then using his brass knuckles, when a Metropolitan Police officer positioned toward the opening of the archway was knocked to the ground, kicked and stripped of his baton by the rioters. During this incident, Maccabee was able to observe the assault. After he was knocked to the ground, he stepped into the archway, grabbed the officer's leg, it's already on the ground, and pulled him further towards the crowd. When a second law enforcement stepped off the police line to assist the downed officer, Maccabee stood up, yelled at the officer who had stepped out to assist, and swung his arms and hands towards the officer's head and torso. He made contact wearing his brass knuckles at the time of the assault. And then he lifted up the downed officer by his torso and shoulders, slid the officer down the steps of the Capitol, landing in the crowd, in which the officer sustained physical injuries, head laceration, concussion, elbow injury, bruising, and bodily abrasions, or what Donald Trump likes to say, no one got injured on January 6th. And then he used social media, Maccabee, to say he expressed pride in his role in the insurrection. He texted people about shedding his blood for this country. And then, of course, he got arrested, and he's been serving time in jail ever since. And now this woman, this wife, is a co-host along with Donald Trump. Now, I don't know why Donald Trump gave out the order to get rid of this gala. Let me just give you some ideas, as long as we're here together on this hot take. How about one? He's got a presidential debate. I mean, he keeps flip-flopping on whether he's going to participate, but I think he's going to participate on ABC with Vice President Kamala Harris because he's down in all the poll numbers. I think if he was way up in all the poll numbers, I'm not sure we would see him in that debate. But I think now he's kind of painted himself and backed himself into a corner, and he's got to do the debate. He's got to do the debate. So he's got a debate on the 10th of September. Having a gala of Jan6 insurrectionists on your Bedminster property is probably not a good look optically before you debate Kamala Harris and you're trying to get law enforcement to support you, especially coming off Arlington National Cemetery when you and your people were filming political ads and photographs among the fallen. Fallen that you in the past had who demeaned, including anyone that was ever captured in time of war, like John McCain, calling people that were dead in Arlington or in Europe during World War II losers, you know, that kind of thing. For a guy who no one in his family going back to the Civil War has ever served in the military. So that's not a good look. The second reason I would assume he's not doing it is because, again, tying himself so closely to the Jan6 insurrectionists just reminds people that he's going to give them pardons if he gets back into office. So not only is reproductive rights and abortion and women's rights as first-class citizens in this country on the ballot in November, not only is the Supreme Court on the ballot in November, but Donald Trump and Jan6 and the insurrectionists and what happens to the future of this country if he gets back into office and he absolves these people of their criminal responsibility is on the ballot. I think that's another reason. Not that he listens to any of his advisors or sycophants, but that's out there. And then also, that very same day, Donald Trump and his lawyers are in the court with Judge Chutkan, talking about how to progress the DC election interference case. Is that a good look? In front of the judge? And lastly, you haven't been sentenced yet by Judge Merchan on the 18th of September for your 34 felony count conviction in New York. Not a good look. So somewhere he grew a brain over the long weekend and decided to, his campaign, I'm sure, to tell Sarah Maccabee, the wife of the violent criminal Ronald Maccabee, to cancel it. And you can come up with whatever you want. And of course, they got to use the triggering words for MAGA, which is security issues and it's not safe. And really, Bedminster? Bedminster is not safe? Okay. He lives there. Okay. Putting all that aside for a minute, I'm glad the gala is canceled. I'm glad he's not raising money and people aren't raising money for these criminals. Let me make this clear one more time. I followed almost every Jan 6 conviction and sentencing since the very beginning here on Legal AF and on the MeidasTouch network. The people, especially the Jan6 defendants that were left inside, are the most violent subgroup of insurrectionists out there. There's a reason. You just haven't heard the evidence. The judges have all heard the evidence as to why these people should have been detained pre-trial and post-trial, post-conviction, and pre-sentencing. There's a reason they stayed in for years, many of them, for years. They got taken off the streets. They didn't have the right to liberty before their own trial, despite the presumption of innocence. And they certainly weren't going to be allowed out between conviction and sentencing. And the reason is the overwhelming evidence of their violent proclivities, right, to do harm to society if they ever got out again. And when you hear that evidence, these are the rogues gallery of some of the most violent participants in a violent insurrection. So if you're at the top of the food chain in a violent insurrection and you're the most violent, that's who we're talking about when we're talking about Jan6 insurrectionists and defendants who are the subject, the beneficiary of this gala. Let's at least have the same, when we have our debate, if that's what this is, if we have our debate with the other side, let's use the same vocabulary. Let's use the same language. Let's use the same the same set of facts. You can debate what the facts mean. You have your right to your own opinion. You don't have your right to your own facts. And calling them fake news is not a rhetorical debating a strategy that's effective. At least not here on Legal AF and on my hot takes. So if you like what I'm doing, follow me on all things social media at MS Popok. Legal AF, Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We sit at that intersection of law and politics like this story, and we bring it to you as practicing lawyers who know what they're talking about at that intersection. How refreshing on YouTube. You can watch us record it on this YouTube channel, MeidasTouch. You can participate in live chat with the anchors. You can then plug in Legal AF into all your audio podcast platforms, and there will be. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.